So thank you all for coming to this, BSc Global Health CGP community group placement at the Gurkha Centre. We have fifth year Global Health, student this year, and we are pretty much, wrapping up our session or the module this year. So I think we have one more session before, we finish. So it's quite humbling to have you all, on such a short notice. And in the room here, we all have, something to do with health and social care. We have very, highly qualified professional from health background. We've got community leaders, community champions, all have been like doing something for the community. The community that we serve or support is the Gurkha Nepalese community. As you all know that we have huge number of the community living in the UK now, and they all, or pretty much most of them have, health issues. And you are also aware that, the health barrier or, access to health is, a daily challenge for them. With the, the COVID and the pressure on the NHS has, even made the situation worse for, our particular, the service user group. So a quick house rule today. As I can see, everyone has got their, the speaker on mute, which is good to see. So today we are going to start with a brief presentation about the history of the Gurkhas, and the presentation will be, presented to you by our chair of the trustee, James Cantwell, and then we'll have some, background information about, how people, have been affected in different areas in access to health, and what the community leaders or champions, they've been doing to sort of help the community. So I will ask James to, give a short presentation about the, history of the Gurkhas, the, Gurkha population that we serve.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Could you enable sharing, Bim? And I will share my presentation.
Done.
Thank you very much. So I hope you can all see my screen. So for a bit of history, the Gurkhas come from Nepal, which is in the Indian subcontinent. So it borders what is now India and China. So in the early part of the 1800s, Britain did actually go to war with Nepal over border disputes. Eventually, the peace treaty was signed in 1816. That is after Britain got quite a bloody nose in that war. The Gurkhas were exceptional soldiers and gave the British a run for their money in quite a few of the battles. After the war, since the Gurkhas were viewed to be such impressive soldiers, the British decided that it would be better to offer them a role in the British Army. Firstly, it was the East India Trading Company, which was a private company which ruled over India. And then after a revolt in the 1850s, they turned into a British Army regiment. So I would say this is the start of a quite solid relationship, which recently celebrated in 2015, 200 years. The Gurkhas for the next couple of centuries were crucial to British rule in Asia. They kept law and order in India and various colonies in British Asia when there were disputes. And by 1900, there were quite a few Gurkha regiments. So they became collectively known as the Brigade of Gurkhas. Moving into the world wars, the Gurkhas fought in both quite heroically. They fought all over the world, from Africa to Burma, from the fields of Europe all the way to the jungles of Borneo. So you can see how large the Gurkhas were in the two world wars, and you can see how many casualties they also suffered. It should be noted that quite a few of the battlegrounds that are mentioned there, so Mesopotamia, Gallipoli, North Africa, Burma and India, there are very inhospitable environments at times. So the Gurkhas were really sent into the tough environments where usual British soldiers wouldn't have done the job as well. And I think that's reflected in, you know, the amount of bravery awards they got, 2,000 in the First World War and 2,734 in the Second. So it just goes to show, you know, the caliber of the soldiers that were fighting. So since 1945, we had the partition of India. So it was decided that 6 regiments of the Gurkhas would be moved to the Indian Army and 4 would remain with the United Kingdom. And by 1994, though, this was merged into 1 regiment, and it is now collectively known as the Brigade of Gurkhas. So after 1945, the Gurkhas kept busy. They fought in Malaya, Borneo, the Falklands, Bosnia and Kosovo, and they've served in numerous other theatres as well. More recently, in Iraq and Afghanistan, they were quite reputable as excellent soldiers. And as I mentioned, in 2015, we just celebrated 200 years of service and friendship between the Gurkhas and the UK. So I would say that the Brigade of Gurkhas continue to be one of the best infantry units in the British Army. They enjoy a fantastic reputation both here and abroad. As Bim will go on to explain, they were recently given permission to claim residency in the United Kingdom, which is why this charity was eventually formed. And I think below is a very good quote to sum up the Gurkha regiments and their contribution to the UK. Undoubtedly, you know, they are very good friends, and I think this charity does a fantastic job of making sure that we look after them now they're living here in the UK as well. So unless anyone's got any questions about the history or would like to learn more, I will hand back over to Bim.
Thank you, James. That was quite helpful. You know, how I see it, when I go to do my character assessment for, you know, someone, I do not want to see that person having, you know, social issues, husband passed away, you know, wife spent that amount of money, son, daughter, and all that. I also see or like to discover if that person has a history, you know, behind, you know, him or her. Likewise, you know, having this kind of background, you know, knowledge and information about the, you know, Gurkhas or the, you know, older Gurkhas you will see tomorrow when you go to practice, I think it will give you a kind of, you know, background, you know, information about the history that person may have, not just like, you know, that person is, you know, a set of, you know, disease or like, you know, health issues. So thank you, James. You know, as you mentioned that the Gurkhas, you know, highly respected soldiers in the British Army and in the world. And the Gurkhas you see today, you know, older people, they all have history and they all have, you know, achieved something, and, you know, they've come here and they need help, you know, mainly because of the barriers, you know, they have, like, you know, the language, the cultural barriers and the issues they already have. So we all know it. I don't want to, you know, go on and on about it. So my next, you know, aim is to, as you already know, so I'm like, you know, talking to the students here, you already know the issues faced by the Gurkhas in London or like in our areas, and how we have been, you know, supporting, and the challenges we have been facing, and the strategies that we are, you know, working on to, you know, improve, you know, our services. And you've also heard, you know, last week or week before that, you know, the expectations, you know, our service users have on us, you know, how much, you know, they want us to do, you know, better and, you know, help them in a better way. So likewise, this is not just us, we have like, community group organizations like in various parts of the, UK, and they all have been, doing, hard work like us. And it's not yet kind of, recognized or, understood that, how much people are working, behind the scene. So to give us sort of like, the flavor, it's not just the Gurkha Centre doing this work, but there are other people as well. This is why I, invited a number of, people that you see in the room. They all have been, doing a fantastic job to, support the Gurkhas and their families in their own, areas. So I don't know how much time the students have today because they've got quite a lot, full on. So, and also bearing that in mind, what I would like to do is, ask everyone to, sort of, if students have any questions, can ask the, people in the room, or I'll ask like, let's say from Aldershot, and Maidstone or Kent area, the issues you have, been facing. That gives a kind of flavor to student first, like what we have been talking about, how we have been facing issues and how we have been, supporting the community. Sure, but please try to keep it short because like, I think we don't have much time. So let me start with Aldershot first. So we have Dr. Bishal Gomadidi, and who else from Aldershot area? Sushma Didi. Okay, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, Vishalbhai, you want to say something from Great Rushmore, and then I can maybe talk on mental health.
Okay, Rushmore, this is the just recent census said this is the largest number of Nepalese people residing in whole UK. So Rushmore is the most populated Nepalese people community here, and majority of them are ex-Gurkhas, or somehow everybody or 90% of them are related with the Gurkha family. The reason why we have lots of Gurkhas is because of the barracks, army barracks that they used to serve here, and they retire and then they resided here. So there are many organizations which helping them, but most of the problem that the Gurkhas face in our area is the language barrier, and because of the language gap and the communications problems, they are facing difficulty in making appointments. Now all the GP surgeries are going into the electronic system of making appointment, online system for everything. So they're finding it very difficult to get that access. So that is the biggest issue in our area in terms of the Gurkhas and health. So I'll rest it there, and then from the mental health perspective, Sushma Gurung Didi will explain further. But we have a strong community where we look after each other and so on. But still, the biggest problem has been to in terms of getting access to the GP surgeries and hospital and appointments and so on.
Yeah, I would also like to add something about the language barrier. This has been the major issue: the language barrier, literacy barrier, cultural barrier. So in most of the cases, just like Bisal said, that people are unable to get the GP appointment. They're also unable to report their sickness, their pain. And because of this has added that unwanted burden and stress to the elderly veterans in our community. There was one event of one of the beneficiaries from the Gurkha Centre. The gentleman must be around 80s or probably more than that. So so he basically went to the hospital for a general checkup. Then he had his friend with him who kind of like escorted him to hospital. But then the hospital decided to send him to another hospital to get a scan because their machine was not working. And the paramedics in the ambulance, from the ambulance service, they came there, they explained what's going to happen to the gentleman, to his friend, and to the gentleman, because they had this language barrier. They could not understand. And but the main the person, the patient, was taken away, and his friend was left behind, and his friend was stressed, and he thought that his friend got kidnapped, because that gentleman had a bit of a kind of like a gold, you know, rings and all other jewelries on him, and he thought that the gangster had came in and took his friend, and he don't know the whereabouts of his friend, and he the friend called us. The call was made to him, and he was stressed, and he was saying like somebody had kidnapped his friend. He doesn't know where they went, and there was stress all over the household, and we didn't know where he went. What do we need to do? Then we decided to call the police. But then I think by the time Vim, did that gentleman came back to his home? I think he did.
No, I figured out.
Yeah.
I called the A&E, and you know, I found out he was taken to a different hospital for some other, you know, checkup, and then this was resolved.
Yeah, but this was an unwanted stress that came to their life due to the language barrier. And about the there is a huge cultural barrier as well, because most of the elder veterans, they believe in supernatural power, and despite of going to the GP, because there is already a language barrier, and they kind of hesitate to you know, visit GP, as they can't kind of like report their sickness, so they will go to their main alternatives, like, you know, getting treated by a witch doctor. And I think there is also a lack of awareness and literacy in our community about the health and hygiene. Most of the community members, they practice a poor hand hygiene, and they don't have a good knowledge about the nutritional values about the food that they eat. And because of this, most of I think, yeah, most of the community members, they have you know, the thyroid issues like hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, and that will trigger out some other health issues for them. So this was just a small glimpse of the, you know, complication that comes due to the lack of language barrier, cultural barrier, and a literacy barrier in our community.
Thank you, Sumita. So let's move on to Aldershot again. It's like let's you know, stick to more about like how the group, you know, community group in organization is like, you know, catering for support, like, you know, Susma Didi and, you know, Dr. Bishal and Goma Didi have been supporting the community there, and they've got their own history like we face on a daily basis. So we have, you know, so many, you know, stories and issues, and they have their own, like, you know, so if you could, like, you know, elaborate how you you know, of course, I can see you have been doing this online, you know, the health awareness sessions and all that. And also, do you also do like, you know, practical kind of support, meeting people every day, or like, do they, you know, contact you for support? If you could explain that, you know, that would be helpful. Thank you.
I work in the for the Sarah in Borders Partnership Trust. I work in the community in Aldershot mental health team as a community psychiatric nurse. I used to work somewhere else before, like in Bracknell. I worked in Bracknell. I work in the Farnham Road Hospital. But the main reason for me to come in the community to help Nepalese community, because we have, as Bisal Bhai said, like we have like in the maximum population, Nepalese population, mostly from the veteran in the families, and then so came to support because if I wasn't in this field, if I wasn't in the mental health in the field, then I wouldn't have like awareness, or maybe I wouldn't have more understanding about what is mental health. So it's still kind of like, there's a stigma about mental health. People do not want to talk about it. Our manager has been really, really supportive, and then she kind of like allowed me to do the work for the community, Nepalese community, because it's hardly, we Nepalese people, we say like a Gurkhali or Nepali, hardly they come for help, because they may suffer inside with a mental health problem or even a physical health problem, but they would hardly they come for help. So what we did initially, before we started this the awareness program, because we wanted to help the Nepalese community, so we did like a focus group, we did some like surveys as well, and we also found the is like the three weakness in three areas, like a stigma. First of all, like a stigma, having a stigma about mental health problem, and then the language barrier was the main thing, because the mostly if the person is like over 50, 60, and then they wouldn't have like a language, they would hardly speak English. Even saying like a yes or no would be kind of like a difficult. So it would be really, really difficult. So language is another barrier, as we spoke about, like even going to the GP as well with the physical health problem. I mean, it's difficult to explain what kind of like the physical health problem they are going through. So on the top, like mental health was the another stage as well. And another thing we found was confidentiality as well. People like in our culture, like we can kind of like gossip a lot. Like if we hear something, then it just like spreads around. So people worry about like if they say something, if they happen to say something, if they mention something, then that might go everywhere. People will know about their difficulties, so they rather hide it. So these were the three areas we found, like the stigma, language barrier, and then the confidentiality. And then we thought, okay, let's help. Okay, these are the reasons people are coming forward for help. So, and then we started, we felt like we need to help. How can we help? Before COVID, we felt we did the conference as well, Nepalese conference as well, to include community leaders. So, and then with all other kind of like organizations as well, and then hoping to find out how can we help the community, Nepalese community. So we wanted to go to the community, but it didn't happen because of the COVID. So, and then later we started, myself and Dr. Vital, we started the program via Zoom. So we felt maybe we can at least do something via Zoom, so people can watch on the Facebook. So we had a permission from the trust as well to go on like a online, and then recording for YouTube as well. So people who cannot have access to Facebook, they can watch a recorded program in the YouTube as well. But we do, and then we run the program on physical health. Like we have two GPs with us, Dr. Jit Tamang and Dr. Bishal Gurung, who talks about like a discuss talk, means like not like doing the presentation.
The next stop is from leaving the train. Please remember to take all your belongings with you.
Not just like not doing the presentation only. We do present as a very simple language, and then we talk the presentation, and the discussion is all in Nepali. So this is basically for Nepalese community, and we talk about any health issues, like the, and then we have what psychiatrists as well in the panel as well. So and then myself, and there's another Raj Chetri. I think Bhimbai know, you know Raj Chetri Dai, don't you? Yeah, so Raj Chetri Dai is there regularly. And then we have what, yeah, Gamda used to come as well. Initially he came as well. So we had a program from Tim Riley as well. about the veterans as well. So these are the programs we do. So and then, as you asked, it has really helped people. And then we also have like, the sometimes we advise them, like, if you have any problem, everything is confidential. We're not gonna tell anybody. We don't like take a name or anything. So, and then you can contact us, and then so we can kind of like help you, try and help you, and then maybe signpost you as well. So, and then we have found people coming, and then try to get help from us, isn't it, Bisalbhai? Yeah.
Great. To summarize, basically how we help Gurkha veterans in Rosmar and Aldershot area, we have like Gurkha Welfare Trust, who helps all the Gurkha veterans who needs help in terms of filling out forms, in terms of claiming pension credit, in terms of claiming housing problems. There is Gurkha Welfare Trust, and another one is Citizen Advice Bureau, where they have a session on every Wednesday where Nepalese people can go there and take all those services. Similarly, we also have from Greater Rosmar Nepali community, we have a project together, one project which helps these vulnerable veterans, teach them how to use the technology to mitigate the technological barriers, and also reduce their loneliness during the lockdown and sessions. Similarly, we also conduct a dance sessions every Tuesdays for the wives of veterans, and all the veterans can come, but oftentimes it's all the females who comes and enjoy the dance session. So there are many things that we do, and from last 2 months we have been doing the actual physical health checkup for the veterans, like basic checkup like blood pressure, blood sugar, every last Sunday of the month. So and there is also a veterans hub which takes place every last Friday of the month in Farmdale Library. So there are many projects that we do within the area to help the veterans where possible. Yeah, that's basically the things that we do in our locality to help these veterans.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the great input. I'll quickly wrap it up. As you all understand, when someone is having mental health issues, it's the person is finding it difficult to understand what is happening with that brain, and also to have this added kind of the pressure or the stigma, the confidentiality, and not being able to trust someone. And also, like the cultural, the religious belief, it could be something, my God is doing something, it all makes the situation even worse. But, we have Susma Didi and, Dr. Bisalbhai and, all these, community groups, people, leaders are doing, fantastic, work. And, we're grateful for that. So if you have any questions from, the students, please, and then we move on to East.
Thank you. That was all really interesting to hear about. Just in terms of the stigma and cultural things that you just mentioned, I was wondering if you find that that's often a barrier to them coming forward to access healthcare, and if people come forward maybe not understanding that what they're experiencing is mental health, if they maybe come in with describing like aches and pains in other parts of their body, and how you guys would go about that in discovering what the issue actually is.
Yeah, we do have like because of the culture issues as well. It is, mental health is like the still stigma, because even myself, if even I work in the mental health team, but even like sometimes I may face, if I have to mention something about myself, if I have to if I have to talk about like a mental health myself, then I might think twice, perhaps, should I talk about it or not talk about it? Should I open to somebody? Because I tell people to share your problem. I tell other people, share your problem to the trusted people. So who is the trusted person for me as well? So that could be a problem. So in that case, there's still stigma. Although I can talk openly about the stigma, but maybe there's a stigma. Similarly, like people, what I could find is still with the people, if we talk about like a veterans or in the Nepalese community, and then when they come, they might not be able to tell us that they have got like a problem with the depression or something. They might say something, I have got this, and that. So it's our job when we do the assessment, and then we go to through the history or current circumstances and things like that, and then we may kind of like find, oh, these are the problem. So for them, and then what happens, and then we can kind of like make them aware, what is the situation now, like that. So gently try to educate them about the stigma, the how to remove the stigma, that kind of thing, rather than, oh, we can't say that this is the stigma, we can't, because they don't know stigma, but it just happens automatically that we mustn't be kind of like talking about the mental health problem. So they might feel free to talk about the physical health problem. Okay, I have this pain or this and that, I've got a stomach problem, this and that, but they might not want to, if we say, if somebody say like, okay, you have got a mental health problem, that means really not nice to them, because even not only Nepalese culture, even like I deal with the the other like Indian background, or the other Asian background as well. When we have clients from that background, and they still don't want us to, they know that we work in the profession, we keep everything confidential, but they still say, please do not tell blah 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 that I'm coming to see you, because that would be a stigma. Otherwise, if somebody from their family or friends know that they're they're coming for mental health, like for help for their mental health problem, and then they will their children cannot get married, or the people will not talk to them. So these kind of like issues they think they will face. So that's the reason still mental health problem is still a stigma.
I just share as a social work perspective, because I have been practicing and I'm working across with the social mental health also is linked, and which is I did my social work, my dissertation also in mental health. So being coming from our own background, even African background, South Asian background, the main I'm talking about social perspective, and as a being a woman and a being a wife, being a mother, we hardly see as a woman, because I'll just give one example. When I did 4 years ago, while I was doing my presentation regarding mental health and how it's linked with the domestic violence, I found one gentleman. He is from Ken. He lives in Ken, from Gurkha community. And after, at the end, that gentleman came to me and he thanked me and said, "Hey, Lakshmi, you such a great presentation. You opened my eyes, and I'm going to say today very nice talk with my wife." The reason was why I'm saying this. Sometimes how that mental health trigger from is trigger not only social stigma, how it trigger from your own beloved husband. For instance, Gurkha's community, when you got married, they always expect their wives would be, because while I'm talking about our community is a very patriarchy society, and husband, they expect and compare your wife, like 20 years ago, your wife must be like a 6-figure, 8-figure, whatever figure, 0 figure. And their expectation is always, or compare someone's wife, and that how they never, either is even as a jokingly, they don't understand your wife is not your object, not compared to someone else, and they're not realizing how much that impact that his wife's mental well-being. And then he always said, Lakshmi, I always criticize my wife's body. I always criticize for, I'm sorry to say, as being a professional, I have to say, I always expect her, you know, the sexual, my expectation. Your Bhauji is not meeting my sexual expectation. I'm still a young man. He is a 60 plus something. I need a twice, but your Bhauji is not doing this. And I was thinking, hang on a minute. You have grown-up children at home. You are expecting your wife, let's say 20, 25, 30 years ago. How does this fare for that woman? So these things trigger, it's very important to educate our community. We always talk stigma, let's say it's like our past life scene and so on. The present life, how the woman, they suffer inside their husband. So that's also very, very important for to talk. While that's how I found, and he said to Lakshmi, I'm really going to say my wife, and I will see in a different perspective, which is, I think Nepali community, Asian community, they hardly talk about sex issues, they hardly talk about women's issues, they hardly talk about how their wives' feelings issues, women also, their wife also as an individual, and they hardly accept women. They expect they're working hard and they expect to do the cooking at home, cleaning at home, at the same time look after children at home, not knowing that they're enjoying how even go party Nepali community. I'm sorry to say, I'm very blunt, I'm saying we're having beer and having chat with their fellow friends. They hardly go, hi honey, do you like this? We don't have that culture, and that's small portion, the build up, and that's impact mostly for Nepali women, mental health triggers, how they impact and trigger from home, how their husband treat, and sometimes their children, they understand, oh mom, you don't know this, you don't know. And sometimes a few of my friends, they talk, Lakshmi, some of my children, look, I came to this country and my children, they think we do nothing. And I went to one university interaction program, and hey guys, being educated and being a qualified, two different things. Have you ever talked to your mom? Have you ever talked to your mom, and how is your mom? These small things, I have to educate not only community, the husband and their children. That's my point. I'm sorry, we might take, which is offloaded. So that's anything question I'm happy to share.
That's really good. No, it's true. It's true. I think
So-
it's the vice
so-
versa. Yeah, sorry.
Mhm. So basically, I think it would be appropriate to conclude that the lack of awareness about the mental health and the factors that could kind of develop the mental health issues, and the lack of awareness about the factor that could kind of help people to achieve the mental health might have cause this stigma to be stronger even in these days. I hope we can conclude on that.
Yeah, thank you. Susma Didi was saying something.
No. I mean, as I was just saying, like, to Lakshmi Baini, it's like a vice versa. Not only women suffer with the, mental health, but like a male as well. But they can maybe hardly show their, the emotions as well. But anyway, so to conclude the stigma, for me, I think that's the reason I think we all are in the community trying to this is all like a volunteer job most of us are doing, apart from our professional, we do have like a professional as well, and then on the top we also work like a Monday to Friday. We've been still kind of like working for the community as well, trying to help. How can we in which area we can help. So for me, like, mostly I do mental health. I do awareness on the mental health as well. So, and then I tell like whoever not only the whoever I meet, like you are not alone. I'm like going through the mental health problem. So don't worry. We all go through that. We all have some problem, tiny problem. Like if I'm worrying, that means that is also part of like our mental health. Yeah. Until like I worry like a severely kind of thing, and then that becomes like a problem. But we all go through this problem, so we all not like no, you're not alone. So they feel like, oh, okay, I'm not alone having like a mental health problem. So that's why, like, that's how seamless doing tiny thing and then talking about into the ourselves as well, to the people as well, and then just meeting people and then helping them, which area they need help. That kind of like are they mental health triggered by any social circumstances or whatever reason, because of physical health. So make them, they help them, educate them, make them aware how they can get help, where they can go for help, that kind of thing as well. So, and educating them, this is not a stigma, you need to speak up, don't keep yourself, that kind of thing. I think slowly, even when I came here, when I came to this country, when I started working in 99 in a hospital, even that time I could find like I worked in the mental health that time as well, with older adult functional people. That time as well I found people here, not Nepalese people, but people, the local people, they used to have like a stigma. They used to worry about, like, when they had like a mental health problem, they used to really, really worry about their mental health. They didn't want to talk about their mental health outside. They didn't want to meet anybody else from outside as well, because otherwise the people would know about what they're going through. So nowadays you can see people are open. You can even see like youngsters are open to to come and talk about their mental health problem these days, what maybe us still behind, I think.
Okay, thank you, Didi. I think we all agreed that the language and literacy barrier, or specifically the literacy about health, that is a big one. So, and I think we have to make people literate in health. We have to educate them. And Susma Didi and Vishal Bhai and Goma Didi, they are doing in Aldershot, and all the people are doing in their areas. What I reflecting now, what I think we can do together is we can cross post. When you do the videos, we come along as well from different parts, and we start talking about it. And Lakshmi Didi can have her input. She raised very important aspects, like female from Nepalese background, and all these, like the intersectionality she was highlighting there. So we can start maybe working something together, and then highlight these issues, and we can address this stigma and all this confidentiality. We make it like simpler, easier. Everyone can open up. Then I think that's the way forward. So anyone, students, have anything to add or ask?
No, I think that's covered it. That was really great and interesting to hear from all of you guys. Thank you.
Goma Didi, do you have anything from female Nepalese female organization?
I think most of things are covered by Dr. Vishal Bhai and then Susma Didi. Yes, before COVID, anyway, we did run community radio, BGWS. So it was very good to spread information in Nepalese language. So anything comes up like health issue or anything problem, veterans problem. So it was very good to give information in Nepalese language. But now, unfortunately, in COVID time, we couldn't sustain. So it closed down now. So involving as a journalist, we issue communities issues, we publish in the news, and anything comes up, so we can ask each other journalists, and then we give message. At the same time, anyhow, we have to keep busy, I think, to reduce our mental health. So COVID time, we run yoga classes. So there is one Madat Samoa veteran family group. So people, Madat Samoa veterans who can speak good English, so they can share all information. And then we put, like so Susma Didi or Bisal Bhai. So after that, we can give their number, and then they help. So now this Kurakani is a talk group, so which is very good and informative. It's helpful for everybody, and at the same time, we do like a interaction or interview program with doctors, a mental health doctor, or any other doctors as well. So that is also helpful. So thank you very much. Thank you, Bimbai.
Okay, thank you, Didi. That was helpful. Before we move on to East Kent or area, we've got Susila as well. Susila has been like working with the community as well extensively, and she worked with the project together, isn't it? Do you have anything to add? Hope you are getting like, because you were on and off. So
yes, yeah. No, sorry, I was driving back home, so I couldn't join. But yeah, it's been really useful to hear what everybody had said. Although everybody has mentioned most of the issues that the Gurkha community is facing, yeah, I've been working in a project called Project Together to help them overcome digital barrier, because during COVID, we realized that a lot of our elderly Nepali people were really isolated, because in Rushmore, there's a lot of Nepali population, and a lot of them live in HMO, which is a housing of multiple occupation. So they share a room in a house, and they have to just confide in one room because of social distancing and everything. And if they are not with family, it made it even worse. And with the language barrier, it just made it really hard for them to connect with anyone, get any support, get any information about what was happening with COVID. There was just not enough information. They were not getting that help. So we thought it'd be good to help them with getting out some information, and we started in training them with how to use Zoom. So we run weekly session on Sunday, where we talk about all the different informations or any awareness, any information that might be useful there for them. And we run workshop as well to teach them how to use Zoom. But recently, after changes in the guidelines, we have been approached by lots of health sectors. They want to raise awareness about health issues like diabetes, heart failure, like all the issues, and not to mention the mental health as well. So they are trying to find a way to reach out to the community, but they just need, but they also struggle because of the language barrier and cultural barrier, as mentioned by everybody. So that's one of the thing we are trying to help out, see how we can reach out to our community to raise awareness about health and how they can access services and how they can help get help from the statutory and community services. So hopefully we in the future we will be able to help get more support working together, and with partnership work we'll be able to do that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Susila, for valuable input. Yeah. So it's good to know like what you've been doing with Project Together and in other projects. I've got the point to take where like the main is the raising they raise the health awareness and work in collaboration with health partners, which in a way delays the disease, and also it helps like kind of improve access to health when needed. So thank you for that. Yeah. So let's move on to Kent. Achu, the DC has been like working with the community as well, and we've worked together in COVID time as well. She has been in touch with us, and I would ask her to share her experience working with the community in Kent or Maidstone area. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bye. Namaste. Hi everyone. Yes, Maidstone, when we especially during COVID taught us so much things. I know about to the English government and all that. During COVID, there was like a lot of misunderstanding. Everyone had anxiety. I know you guys can hear me, right? And there was like lack of, we didn't have a lot of knowledge about care of duty. Like in COVID, let's start with an example, real case, okay? Like one of the Nepali husband got COVID and the wife got COVID. And the ambulance came because the family was scared to take them to the hospital. Then the ambulance just left the kids there. 2 kids, like 5 and 9 years old. I know. And the ambulance didn't know what their duty of care was. They said, sorry, everyone was scared. And there was police involved. There was social workers involved. They were all scared. Like even the social worker was like saying, oh, I'm too old. You are young. Maybe you can take the kids, and then we were scared too. But then after a while, like after 3 days, all the community turn by turn, guarding those kids at home, outside home, right? My husband finally decided, okay, that's it. We have to go inside. Someone have to go inside and clean that house, and get them dressed. And one of the grandparents or uncle, auntie have to take them, and that's what happened. But then the family was not happy that we didn't take the kids. And we said, look, that's not our, we are not next of kin, whoever is like, a lot of communication problem. And then also we have a lot of veterans, Gurkha veterans. I know the widow, a lot of them have a lot of problem because like I work in the hospital as well as, the clinic. I do booking for cardiology department. I mean, the health system is already so complicated, even for English speaking people. Yeah. So imagine how difficult it is for our Nepalese people, right? The thing is, it's just so challenging to understand all this terminology. I know using like I work for 2 years now. Now I am like maybe 50%, with this health system. People get lost here. They don't know how to come, especially not just Nepalese, but all the ethnic minority. I find them like having anxiety. Oh my God, where is my clinic and all that. On top of that, I think the government have to, I mean, the students are here, maybe they can address it, that we need a interpreter. Of course, there's interpreter. We're not like up in North where they don't have enough Nepalese interpreter and people are just left like that to die or to be, they come up with a lot of life-threatening cases up in North, I heard, with the Nepalese community. But here we do have translator, but they are not qualified. They, like, I've met so many interpreter here, but they just they either give the wrong information to the doctor. There's a lot of things, and they are also not aware of how the health system works, and yeah, and then that will delay the person's treatment. Like there should be like an effective communication And that only can be achieved to those Nepalese interpreter by training them. And on top of that, my parents or whoever uncle auntie I meet, Nepalese uncle auntie we meet, they always go, oh, in the hospital or even in GP, if you, okay, forget about the local doctors, maybe they are not trained enough to really, you know, get the cultural differences or whatever. But even the Nepalese doctor and the nurses, they are the worst one. They are the rudest one. You know, that's what I get. And I'm like, wait a minute, they are the health staff. And when they see the Nepalese community, why are they not being helpful? You know, or I don't know, either they are very busy, or maybe they have, you know, they have certain maybe confidentiality, you know, like whoever mentioned before, someone tells another Nepalese person about their health issue, then they feel like it will spread like wildfire. But then whatever that is, I feel the government have to give enough training to health staff as well who works in GP or hospitals. You know, they have to know, like, there are so many different people who live in this country, and they not just certain group of people, but they have to have more education on that when they have training, like to, you know, in medical field. I think that's also very important, you know, because I work here and I feel even the technicians or the doctors are not really, they don't understand the sensitivity of certain group of people who come from certain background with their religion or with their culture, you know, anything. I think, yes, the staff, and of course, staff meaning not just doctors and nurses, but also the interpreter or whoever is designed, you know, to help these ethnic minorities. They should really have that cultural competency and sensitivity, you know, that training, you know. If not, it's not gonna help. That's all I have to say. I think the rest of the ladies here have already expressed, yeah, what kind of problem they go. Yeah, yes, it is language barrier, but, you know, on top of that, there's interpreter who's not qualified, you know, and there's health staff, of course, and the government have to, I think, hire more diverse people at work and train them, not just say, oh, you have this and that, but really train them. You have different type, how many different type of communities we have in England, and this type of, like, a lot of people didn't even know what Gurkhas is. So how do they know? Like, you know, over here, like how like, I'm not saying they have to know everything, but they will at least be able to tell, oh, so these people came to this country like this, and then they have the culture of this, you know, those kind of basic knowledge. The training is very important, I think, because I find they are lacking. Yeah.
Thank you, Didi, for the
thank you.
Thank you for the, you know, valuable input. I think, yeah, rightly so. It's always good to have, you know, the background knowledge about the person you actually, you know, provide service or support with. Of course, I think it's good to know that, you know, the staff, you know, need continuous training as well, personal development and all that. So that's a good one. And interpreters, I understand. I worked myself as an interpreter, you know, for over 10 years, and I know for a fact that, you know, there are service standard, you know, interpreters, but that's the best you can have. But we can't be complacent, you know. We can, you know, always, you know, ask for, you know, better service. And she mentioned about the, you know, the terminology being complex for the Nepalese people. Yes, you know, and I think, again, you know, training for the staff, and, you know, if interpreters are used, they you know, they should know it, and just to check if they know, you know, and they do not misinterpret, which could be fatal. And all comes, you know, under, I think, effective communication issues here that, you know, what she mentioned about. Okay, thank you. So I think we pretty much heard from, you know, East and West. And she also mentioned about the, being a health professional or, working in a health yourself, you struggle, you face, the challenges every single day. I have invited, Renuka Buhari. She's a, qualified nurse. She works in a hospital. And recently she faced some challenges herself. Her baby was unwell. And to get the appointment, she had to really kind of, be in a fighting mood. So I will ask her to, share her stories. Thank you. Renuka Buhari. Hello. Okay, that's fine. She might be having issues with the internet, if not. Okay, so I think we're wrapping up for today. And also, thank you, James, for the background information about the Gurkhas, which again, is very helpful. So thank you for the presentation. And coming along from Aldershot, Shushila Baini, Goma Didi, Bishal Bhai, Dr. Bishal Bhai, Pani Shishma Didi, thank you so much for your time today. And Sumita, all the way from Nepal, she's on holiday, but she can't take her time off. She's with the Gurkha Centre. Okay, so yeah, thank you all for being with us today. And students, if you have any final thoughts or questions before the guests leave, you can drag them in. Otherwise we'll stay behind, and then we'll thank you, our guest.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say thank you all very much for talking today. It's been really useful to hear from each and every one of you, and it really helps us make our project and get a better understanding of Gurkha Centre, Gurkhas, and the Gurkha Centre in general. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that I don't have any questions either for the rest of the group, but it's been really nice speaking to you all and hearing about some different issues. So obviously we've heard a lot about language and communication issues. It's been really interesting to hear about some of the other things, such as confidentiality and women's issues as well, as those aren't things that we'd previously covered. So thank you very much for that. It's been really interesting.
And I'd still like to, earlier Bhim said intersectionality. That is the most, this is the toughest debate going on in this social sector, because intersectionality is not only, it's being a man and woman, because we are South Asians, and under the South Asians, we are Nepalese. And that intersectionality also impact huge impact on in terms of accessing any social benefits, any health issues, any issue which is top most debate on going on at the moment, if you are aware of what is this intersectionality means. So this is also is very important things to discuss, and as a practice, as a student, practitioner, student, whoever is an important issue to understand intersectionality, not just like male or woman, the being a South Asian, being within a South Asian Nepali, and being a Nepali also within Nepali. Are you from Pasim part of Nepal, means western part of Nepal, eastern part of Nepal? There's another layer of intersectionality we are facing, and there is a woman intersectionality is another big issue, which is I've been practicing for women and community and children, and wherever I go, I found myself as well. First things, which country are you from, and what is your caste? That is also, if you're going to practicing in the community, you will find out very interesting topics if you have never come across. That's also I'm just like to share.
Thank you, Didi. May I ask everyone to have the camera on just for the photo, one photo?
My camera is not working, sorry.
Didi,
Right.
that cannot
But
be.
I don't know what.
That's a bad excuse.
Sorry, honestly. But anyways, thank you. And
Okay, I'll
yeah, I hope
take a quick
to.
picture and then.
Oh, thank
okay,
you to all
I'll
the.
stop the recording now and then
All right.
take a